if you think about when we came out of the 2008, 2009 Great Recession, there was a lot of anger. And some of that was channeled into the Tea Party movement, a kind of a regressive populism. Look, the economy's become more unequal, the middle class has lost wealth, let's blame immigrants and people of color. The Tea Party was about scapegoating. But there was also the Occupy movement and we are the 99% and that movement. And I think coming out of this pandemic, we're going to see a similar surge. That's what, the Black Lives Matter movement is in the streets focusing on police misconduct and police brutality. But behind that is the deep understanding of the color of this pandemic, which is that Black and brown and Native people have, borne the brunt of the virus in terms of death and disability and the vulnerability. And I would say behind that anger is the legacy of racism in wealth building and economic inequality. So the first starting point is just to recognize, white supremacy is the pre-existing condition that our society is experiencing this pandemic through. Extreme inequality is the pre-existing condition. It could have been so much better. Fewer people could have died. Fewer people could have suffered if we didn't go into this with the kind of fragility of a society where for decades we've been disinvesting public health. If we had a public health system that lifted up everybody, if we didn't have this kind of grotesque racial wealth divide, our national response to this pandemic would be different. And we should be furious, and we should, whenever it's safe, be taking to the streets, removing people from office who created the preconditions that led to this. We should use it as a way to strengthen our resolve to eliminate the racial wealth divide in a decade. Here's the thing, we know how to do this. Coming out of the 2008, 2009 economic meltdown, the policies that were put in place to save Wall Street and hurt Main Street worsened the racial wealth divide, worsened inequality, created more fragility and vulnerability. So we have to fight to have a program I call it just the program that reweaves us back together. I could say the components of that, we have a report called White Supremacy is the Existing Condition, 8 solutions to ensure that this recovery closes the racial wealth divide. So there are things that we can do specifically through the lens of the racial wealth gap. Now it's really a democracy problem. How do we get the oligarchs who have captured our political system out of the way and hurt the public will? And that will require all kinds of mobilization and action.